Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm the Strategy Professor. Let's go ahead and get in here. This is going to be the patch notes for 11.4. If you enjoy the content, please be sure to like and subscribe. It really helps out a ton on the channel. If this is the first video that you've seen, maybe you don't have to like and subscribe. But if you watch this all the time, you love the patch notes, you love the tier list, it's really simple, it's easy. Just take those couple of clicks. It really helps out a ton. Then we also stream every night starting around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go till about 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very friendly, chill community. And then we have fresh patch notes and tier lists for each patch, individual champion guides, topical guides like best one trick, how to micro better, how to macro better, coaching sessions, and tons of other content on the channel, so be sure to check all that out. Okay, let's go ahead and get in here. So Amumu getting 2 more health, and then his base damage is going up by 20 at later ranks. This is okay. I don't think it's a big problem. They nerfed him a ton, they nerfed his items a ton, and the meta just kind of shifted away from Amumu, right? He was 60% early on in the season and in the preseason, but they have since dramatically nerfed Sunfire. They've nerfed Demonic Embrace. His R still has the nerf for, I think it's a 1.5 second stun now instead of 2 seconds. It's still 150 second cooldown. And they may have even done some other nerfs to him. I don't remember everything they did to him, but they nerfed him about 1 billion times. So this will be nice. He'll be up a couple percent. Maybe he'll be around 50% now. But I think he's not going to be as good as the Kim tank, Deadman's tanks that you're going to see, like the Udyr, Rammus, and Skarner. I think those are just going to be better. They're just more consistent, I think, in the current meta. Okay, Braum, getting lowered cooldown, 20 seconds at all ranks on his R. Good. I think Braum is an interesting champion. He's very unique. He has kind of had a tough time. A lot of it is he's been so good in pro for so long, or he was from about Season 5 to Season 9 or so, before they nerfed him a ton. So I think it's interesting to have him in the meta. So this is good. I mean, he has a really powerful peeling ult. I'm not sure if this is going to propel him up to the top of the meta. I still think he gets outscaled by the Moonstone Enchanters. And I still think that things like Rel and Leona are going to be better tank options right now. But with something like a Lucian, or if he's against something like a Misfortune or a Twitch or something else that has like really powerful projectiles and you can use that shield properly, then he can be very strong. So he's okay. I think a lot of times there will be better options, but especially if you have a big team fight comp that auto attacks a lot, then he's going to be pretty decent. I wish they, for him to come back to viability, I wish they would lower the cooldown on his jump a little bit, the W, because that's what you're going to be maxing last probably. And so make that base like 12 seconds instead of 16 or whatever it is currently. I don't know the exact cooldowns. Or make the shield a little bit stronger. But either way, this will help him out. He'll go up, 1 or 2%. He's not terrible. I think he's like 50% right now, so he's not bad. Okay, Caitlyn getting a little bit of extra attack growth and attack speed growth. This isn't going to matter as much because her base attack speed is so low. I think it's like a 0.56 right now, so attack speed already doesn't scale that well with her. And then attack damage growth is not going to matter that much. They need to increase her headshot damage or her Q damage, I think, to bring her back into the meta. Again, I don't think she's horrible. I just think that something like Senna is probably going to be better. You just have more utility. It's just a little bit easier to play and better scaling than Caitlyn. So I just think that she doesn't quite fit into the meta right now. Now, if you can like hard push, if you can hard push early on and get a major advantage, then I think that, you definitely can win with her. But I think she's just too difficult to play for a lot of people because she's basically like a combo mage. You have to, get the traps, land the nets, and just sequence your spells to maximize it. You can't just get one auto attack if they step on a trap, right? It's got to be, auto attack, net Q, auto. You got to know the animation resets and things like that, especially if you're going to take advantage of Gale Force. There are some other content creators out there that will cover that stuff if you just YouTube it, but it is hard to play. Okay, Camille, a little bit less, or a longer cooldown, 2 extra seconds on Tactical Sweep. I don't think this is going to matter that much. I mean, it will make her a little bit more vulnerable in the laning phase, but she's still just a beast later on in the game once she gets 1 or 2 items. It does take a while to get there, but you do have good tools in your toolkit. You can split push really well and get away with your hook shot. You can lock people down when your jungler comes by. You just ult them most of the time, and it's going to be a free kill against the vast majority of champions. So I think that she's still going to be really strong. Now, her win rate hasn't really been that out of line. It's just at top-end play where people are very good on her. Then I think she's probably a little over the line. But yeah, it's just 51 in solo queue. And then I think even in pro, it's not that great, although she has played a lot. It's 55% with 68% present. So I guess a light tap is warranted. But you know, she doesn't need to have a jackhammer or anything taken to her. She's already, like, all right just because she's pretty weak in the early game. And I think she's soft to things like Renekton, although I'm not an expert on those top matchups. But anyways, fine. I don't think it's going to affect her that much. Just you can punish her a little bit more in the early game. Okay, so whenever you proc your vitals, now you're getting 3% of their max health, and that scales by 5.5% of your total AD. So this is going to help her scaling throughout the game, but I still don't think she's going to be fantastic. I mean, she's all right if you're really good on her. The thing is, she's just, like, pretty one-dimensional. Like, she's going to duel you and she's going to beat you. Versus something like Camille has a little bit more CC. She's got the lockdown with the ult. And they get similar items. They have similar power spikes. So, I don't know. Maybe against, like, really hardcore turbo tanks, you know, maybe she's good. Camille also has true damage, though. So, it all comes down to the riposte. If you're really good at the riposte, if you can block key abilities with it, then she can be very strong. But she just doesn't bring a lot to the team other than, you know, split pushing and damage. So you better be very good with her. So she's okay. This will help, but I don't think it's going to move her too much in the meta right now. Jinx, they're giving her back 60 health. Okay, don't think it's going to matter that much. Now, there is a bug down here. There were a couple of notable bug fixes, and there is one with her where her rockets were... And I don't know why they call this a bug fix, because this is actually pretty significant probably for her. Her rocket attack speed penalty was affecting her base attack speed and her bonus attack speed. So now she's going to be getting basically 10% of her base back. So I think that is probably pretty significant. I think that's more significant than the health. But the extra HP does matter. The problem is just a lot of the big ticket items and runes just aren't that great on her. It's like, yeah, she can get Gale Force, but a lot of the best AD carries are really coming online with like one item, or just have a lot more base damage or base utility than she does. So I don't think it's going to matter that much. She's all right. If you protect her and you have proper peel, she's, you know, a traditional 2 and 3 item power spike ADC who can do all right. So she's okay, but I don't think there's like a real exceptional reason to play her. I think if you want like a hard scaling champ, I'd probably just play Kaiser or Jinx, or Vayne rather. Even though she like does have a lot of long range and she is pretty good in team fights with rockets and hurricane, I just feel like you need to be able to skirmish faster right now. But if you have a good like support that you're duoed with that you know can peel for you, then I think she can be an alright pick. So she's not terrible. I just don't think she's exceptional. She's like probably, you know, tier 3, maybe high tier 2. I don't remember where I put her. Okay, Kaiser. They're tapping her rockets a little bit, so it's 10 less damage per rocket, 5 early, up to 10 later, and then the max evolved damage is you're losing 37, which sounds like a lot, so it looks like that's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 8%, but you also have to remember that she has extremely high AD ratios on the queue, so even when you're at, you know, 2 items, when you're just at, or even just like Serrated Dirk plus Gale Force is what a lot of people are doing, you know, you're still going to have at least 100 AD a lot of the time, or somewhere thereabouts, and I think it's 150% of your bonus AD scaling on the missiles. So really those missiles are pretty close to like 550 or 600, so if you take 37 off of that, you're really losing like 5%, 5 or 6% on your rockets, so that does matter, but she's still going to just completely annihilate people, I think. I don't think this is going to change that much. Like, she still does large percentage damage on her passive. That's magic damage. Rockets still do a lot. They're still wave clear. They're on a very low cooldown. You know, they have very low mana cost. And then her W still has really high base damage, pretty good poke. And then her E still gives a ton of attack speed and invisibility, you know, and like an extra little dash to move away from things. And then her ult, really low cooldown, massive shield, like free extra flash in most instances, except you can basically flash from like 3 screens away. So I think she just has way too much in her kit. And And I think that she's still going to be super strong right now. So, anyways, I don't think this is going to matter that much. Maybe it brings her down like 0.5% or something, but I still think she'll be top tier. Katarina. Now, this is one they did not preview, I don't think, on the tweet before. So they're giving her on-hit damage a little bit of extra scaling. So 30% on-hit ratio at level 11 and 35% at level 16. And then the per knife is going to 16% bonus AD and then 12.8% per 100% bonus attack speed. I'm not sure what that is scaling on. 12.8% damage per 100% attack speed. I'm not sure, but I think, you know, and they were saying that it's already, like, not that good on her, but it kind of is, right? Like, some of those builds are already optimal, and people are, you know, they're talking like people are enjoying that build. It doesn't change her playstyle at all, I don't think. It's just a straight numbers thing, right? It's not like you have more cooldown reduction or something, so you can use your abilities more and chain stuff together, you know, and feel good about it. It's just a stat check, you know. Like, I mean, she's a skilled champion. She's difficult to play. I'm not saying as a champion she's a stat check champion, but I'm just saying that a lot of the items that she gets, like, I don't think the on-hit ones are changing her playstyle in a meaningful way, right? It just gives you more damage, so that's why people get it. I would argue that something like Proto Belt actually gives you more tools to make for a more interesting playstyle, because then you have one more jump. So anyway, she still falls off pretty hard late game, but she's good early if you snowball. But yeah, I mean, some of the best items right now, right? Nashor's Tooth is the most popular item, and Lichbane is not the most popular, but it's the highest win rate, or one of them, mainstream items. Now, Blade of the Ruined King is kind of a troll build. I mean, I guess some people were enjoying, like, maybe... this does have lifesteal on it, so I guess that does give you a little bit of resilience in the early game if you have the lifesteal, but sure. I mean, they're acting like nobody builds on hit on her anymore, or that it, like, makes her a lot cooler of a champion. It's like, yeah, you get a meme build, but I don't know. Anyways, this will help out, especially with Blade of the Ruined King, I suppose, but I still don't think it's going to matter that much. I think people are still going to go Nashers. Now, the extra attack speed scaling will impact Nashers. So the little bit of extra damage, and then whatever that scaling is, the 12.8%. But I don't know enough about her damage breakpoints and just how much damage she does with different items. So I don't know, but it's a buff to her. She's already a pretty strong champ, so it's kind of weird. In terms of win rate, at least she's like 53%. So that's a weird buff. Weird buff. Okay, Urgot's getting a little more on-hit damage. Okay, again, it's a meme build. I don't think it's going to matter. They're trying to get people to still be able to build Kraken on these champions, but it's like, why do you want that? Like, I don't want these other roles building Kraken because if I'm an ADC, because it's meant to be like an ADC item. Like, do you just want it to be OP? It's already popular ADC item. You already see it sometimes on stuff like Master Yi. I don't know. Seems weird, but whatever. I don't think it's going to matter too much. Lee Sin, 1 second off of his Q. Okay, nice. Give him a little bit of extra mobility. I really wish they would have buffed his shield. I think that's I don't know. Like, the Q is his bread and butter damage dealer, but I've always wanted Lee Sin to be a viable support, like a tanky support. I think would be really cool. But he needs to have a lower cooldown on that shield if that's going to happen. And like an AP ratios. Just give him the Twitch treatment. Give him some AP ratios on like his Q and his ult. And that could get interesting with some support items with his shield. But anyways, as it stands, this is okay. I don't think it's going to dramatically put him back into the meta. We might be going towards an early game like turbo gank meta. If that's the case, Lee Sin might be a little better if you're really good on him. What are people building on him? I think people were just going for like a Gore Drinker build, but I'd be curious if there was a way that he could get like Stride Breaker. Like, how bad is that item on him? Because that's becoming really popular on a lot of champions out there, replacing Gore Drinker with Stride Breaker. And that would give you a jump to like get to the other side of him. So if you connect with your Q, you wouldn't need a flash or a ward hop. You could just, I believe you could Stride Breaker to the other side of him. Although I'm not 100% about that, but I think that might give him some more utility. Or I guess you could Prowler's Claw too. Yeah, it looks kind of bad. It's not popular. Okay, I don't think it puts you on the other side of him. You would need like a Prowler's Claw Lee Sin. dash through the enemy. Yeah, so it'd be Prowler's Claw, kick. They did buff Prowler's Claw a little bit ago, so that'd be an interesting item on him. But yeah, it looks like he's got a pretty negative win rate on most things. Once he comes down and gets the some of these secondary items, he starts to get a decent win rate. That's actually kind of weird that his first item is bad, but then after that he starts scaling and like taking over the game. This is like the opposite you would think about with Lee Sin. So I don't know. Lee's weird right now. If you're really good on him, you can make him work, but so it's nice. It's nice. I think Lee Sin's a cool champion. I like when Lee Sin's in the meta. He's interesting. There's lots of counterplay. I think he's one of the best designed champions in League of Legends. I never play him, so I don't have a personal horse in the race. But I think he's a really well designed, great champ, and I think a lot of people like Lee Sin. So good to see. Okay, Cole of the Meek gets a little bit of extra healing. Or actually, excuse me, gets less healing off of the minion wave, so the same on champion. So you're going to be more vulnerable to all-ins early. You do get Gore Drinker, I think, and you're still going to get that. You're still going to have like good sustain anyway, so I don't think it's going to matter that much. He is very dominant in pro right now. He's the #1 pick top laner, 55% win rate across all patches. On 11.3, he's 70%. So he did need to be touched. I know, I don't remember, like LS or somebody was complaining about these changes, but whatever. He's strong, man. He needs to be nerfed a little bit. Maybe it was people that were in like commenting on the tweet or something. I can't remember that Mark Yetter sent out last week about that nerf. But either way, he's too strong in pro, and that's just the risk. You know, if you're gonna play, something that's really popular in pro, you better be prepared for your champion to get nerfed because it's gonna happen. If it's strong in pro, it's getting nerfed for solo queue. That's just how it works. So play at your own risk. So yeah, he's not amazing in solo queue. He's okay, 50%, but he's getting nerfed primarily for pro. Okay, Samira, hard nerfed. Now this is one that I really, really don't agree with. I personally think she's an interesting champion and that she's just a victim of a mechanic that people hate. People hate any mechanic that says no. And once again, I don't play Samira. I don't duo with anyone that plays Samira, so I don't have any personal interest in this. I play against Samira, and I do play with Samira a decent chunk, just random people in solo queue. And I personally just don't think she's that overpowered, honestly. Like, she's got a really weak early game. You have to set up for her ult. You can't just, like, run in and start fighting a lot of times unless you're, like, mega fed. She's very skill expressive. You have to rotate between your abilities. There's definitely a huge difference between good Samiras and bad Samiras. She's susceptible to CC. Now, yes, the ranged block is good, but, you know, there's a lot of melee champions like Udyrs and Skarners and Ramesses and Leonas, and there's just all sorts of stuff that can still chain CC you. And she has to get in close range for that, so I don't know. And even statistically, so I think she's dangerous, first of all, and I think there's a lot of bad ones. Now, I guess on this patch, on 11.3, she is 71%. So I guess there is that. If you look at overall, across all patches, she's only 50% with a 37% presence. So she hasn't been that great. But yeah, on 11.2, she was 48%, so sub 50%. So I don't know. She does have a high win rate, but it's kind of a low sample size. Like, she only has 25% presence, so she's like the, what, like the 6th most picked ADC. Or no, we're the 5th most picked ADC. So, I don't know. And then in solo queue, it's pretty low. I think she's like a 50% win rate in solo queue. So I don't know. I feel like, okay, if you wanted to nerf her, people, I don't know if I made this point or not, but people want to nerf her because of her W, right? Because it's basically win wall 2.0. And this is why people hate Yasuo, Samira, Morgana, Tahm Kench for a long time in pro. Anything that stops you from doing stuff is just seen as like very frustrating and very toxic in League of Legends. So people just do not like it. They do not like playing around these abilities. So what I would have done, I like this, taken it down to 0.75. They could have even taken it down to 0.5 if they wanted to just say, hey, look, we're going to allow a very small window where you can block projectiles, but then people can play around it a lot more comfortably, kind of like a Sivir spell shield. I think would have been good. I think they could do that, and, you know, you could make a case for that. Look, that's too strong. So I can get on board with that. But it's all this other stuff. It's like, why are you hurting her early game already? Like, she's already really bad in the early game. You don't need to dial it back. She already gets stomped by stuff like Jhin, Misfortune, Draven. All of these early game champs just completely stomp her early. In my opinion. I'm not going to go into all the stats right now, but that's what I think, is that she's not that phenomenal early. Like, once she gets to 6, she can start doing very well, and she does snowball really hard if she does get ahead, which is good. But you got to remember that, like, the lifesteal items, they did buff Shield Bow, which was pretty significant a patch or two, and that might be contributing to why she's winning a lot more. So they did buff Shield Bow, so that's helpful. But they're also, like, buffing a lot of the Grievous Wounds items. We'll talk about that here in a second. So there's going to be even more Grievous Wounds, and she's a double lifesteal champ. And they nerfed her lifesteal, though, like, a couple of patches ago, too. So, I don't know. But anyway, so they're nerfing her scaling on her passive. They're nerfing her Q damage early. Like, once you get more points in this, so once you're, like, past level 9 or so on Daredevil's Impulse, it's going to be a buff. And once you max your Q first, I guess once you get to level 7, you start doing more damage. So I guess that's not that well. You're exchanging early game for better scaling late. But this is the one that's the most controversial, that I think is the feels bad, that's like completely unnecessary, is that you can no longer dash to allies. That's allied champions and allied minions. So like a really common trading pattern with her is you can go in, dive, get your kill, and then once you get the reset, you can dash back out of danger if you want to. Or you can keep dashing around to enemies. I would rather see them, I guess she has to dash to enemies, but maybe instead of fully removing it, just like refund half the cooldown or something on the E. Or just something like that. And then she could like put points into the E to lower the cooldown and eventually make it free if she wants to. So like a strategic trade-off. I think she already gets E second. But anyways, so like the problem is if you can't do it at all, period, or hey, just take away the reset. Well, I don't know. If you take away the reset and just allow her to dash to allies, my main concern is during the laning phase, she has no other mobility. So if you get ganked or someone like hard engages on you, you don't have any defense other than like dashing away to your allied champions, right? This would be like taking away Jax's ability to dash to things or something in the laning phase, or like Braum's ability to jump to, I guess that wouldn't make as much sense because that's all he can jump to, or to allies. But anyways, y'all know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to hurt her safety a lot. And that's part of what's really fun about her is her mobility. Now, she can dash through enemy towers, I guess. So you can still, like, tower dive, maybe, and get a reset. Or, like, gap close onto a tower. I don't know how you would do that. And that's kind of weird to add that in. And it's only through enemy towers, not your own tower. Or they could have just taken away your ability to dash to minions, and then just still allow you to dash to champions. And that way, like, if your support positions in a certain way, then you could still get out from that. That might have been a reasonable compromise. But I think this is the change that's really, really going to hurt her. This stuff is like, okay, I can see shifting the power around, making your W a little weaker. All right, fine. But, like, this is rough. And they're lowering the speed on it, so people have more time to, like, dash or blink out of it, I guess. I don't know. And then they're changing to where you have a cooldown on your ult to 8 seconds. I think that's fine. The fact that there might be cases where you could use your ult twice in a fight that's faster than, 8 seconds is kind of ridiculous. So this one I could kind of get on board with. But it's just all of these together. Like, did a 50% champion in solo queue, and historically, over all of Season 11, a 50% champ, who is doing well right now on 11.3. But did they really need, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 nerfs on one patch? Really, when you're already buffing items that counter her pretty hard, the 60% Grievous? Once again, it doesn't affect me personally. I just think she's a cool, interesting, like, unique type of ADC, and I like to see her in the game. But anyways, okay. Well, that's going to be real bad. I think that's probably at least 3% off, maybe 5. The thing that makes me say she may not be completely 100% dead is she does have better scaling into late game. So if you are very good on her, if you can track the jungler really well and not get caught out and just play aggressively with your E and not have to worry about Eing back out to allies, it's going to make you play more cautiously in the laning phase though. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm saying 3%, at least 3% down. So 47% in solo queue, possibly lower. Okay, Skarner getting a little tap to his health. I don't think it's going to matter. I still think he's going to be very strong. I think he's going to... Now, one thing is, he's not as great in the early game as Udyr and Rammus if we do go to this early game, like, hard camp jungle meta, which a lot of people are saying we're going to. He does clear pretty fast, and he does move around pretty fast. As long as you keep control of those spires, you can run up and down the river and run around the jungle pretty quickly. So I think he's pretty good. He has decent damage. Of course, he has his ultimate, which is great lockdown. They can get a Quicksilver Sash, but that's a huge tax in the meta right now. People really want to be getting their big items. So, anyways, I think he'll be okay. He might drop a little bit, like 2%, but I think that would primarily be, like right now he's at 54, 55. I could see him at like 53, 52 and a half. And I think a lot of that would just be meta shift stuff rather than HP stuff, but we'll see. I think he'll still be S-class. I think he'll still be top of the, top 5 for sure. And then Soraka is gaining some extra movement speed. Now, this is pretty big. This is something that they nerfed about her. I think it was it last year already? Or was it the preseason? Where they nerfed Soraka a lot when she was really OP. I think that was last year. After the item... No, it wasn't after rune changes. I don't know. She was really strong at one point. I think it was last year in the winter, and they ended up nerfing her movement speed on her Q. So they are... Yeah, because then you had the Soraka top thing that was like showed up in Pro for a while. Soraka and Sona top and all that stuff. That's when she got nerfed, was near the beginning of Season 10. So they're giving her back some movement speed. And this is significant, remember, because if you heal your ally, like if you hit your Q and empower it, it gives you the speed. But then if you heal an ally, it also gives the ally the movement speed. So you can hand this out to a bunch of different people. And then they basically made the healing like pretty much free to where it gives you a lot of effective health. And then they're giving you an extra 10 base healing here. So I think she's going to be very good against poke comps potentially. But there's a lot of grievous wounds. That's the big thing that's really hurting her in this meta, is just everybody gets grievous wounds. Like the Oblivion Orb change was massive. Because Oblivion Orb, the anti-healing on Oblivion Orb is so much better than Executioners, because a lot of Oblivion Orb users have AoE spells that can apply that to, an entire team consistently. And so that really, really hurts your healing a lot more than stuff like Executioner's Calling did. And they're just buffing it this patch. They're making Morellonomicon to where it's pretty much free to get the 60% healing. Like, you used to lose some item efficiency to have to go up there and complete that item, but now they're giving it 10 extra AP, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So anyways, bad news bears for Soraka. I think there's going to be way more 60% Grievous. They also made Putrefier a lot stronger last patch, which is a very good Enchanter version of Grievous. So pretty much they want everyone to buy Grievous Wounds in their first couple of items. So unless your team has like no other healing, and some people are moving away from the Gore Drinker and more into Stridebreaker. So if you have like very little healers on your team, and you can force them to buy Grievous Wounds when they otherwise may not have to buy Grievous Wounds with Soraka, that could be pretty good. I mean, you're basically putting like an 800 gold tax at least on multiple people most of the time. But I just don't like this idea of an arms race. Like, let's just make Soraka absurdly OP if they don't have Grievous Wounds, and let's just make her worthless if they do. I just don't think that's a good dynamic to have. So I would like to see them diversify her support capabilities a little bit more. So, and I've said this before, like, why not, if you hit somebody with a Q and then heal somebody, why not make it a partial shield? Why not, instead of bonus healing over time, it gives them a shield instead, or even a decaying shield, if you think a normal shield would be too strong. So you hit somebody with a Q, it could even give you a shield and movement speed instead of healing. I think that they kind of want to keep the where it heals you up, because the thought process there is you're supposed to be using your health with W to heal people up against poke, and then if you hit a Q, you get refreshed and you get more health. So they wanted to almost be like this sort of happy-go-lucky unicorn vampire sort of thing where you have a lot of like lifesteal yourself, but then you pass it on to other people. I think that's kind of an interesting dynamic. But like, just give them a shield. And then you would be like Seraphine or like Sona, who aren't completely like hard countered by grievous wounds, right? Or her ultimate, right? If someone's below 50% health, they get extra healing right now. Why not give them an extra shield instead? So that way, once again, you know, have some kind of shield in your kit. They used to do it to where whenever she pressed her ult, it removed all grievous wounds and then healed. They could do that again, but just give her a partial shield somewhere in her kit, either when she hits Qs or when she has her empowered ultimate. And I think that would help diversify her kit. Or, conversely, they could make her silence more interesting and add more utility. So I really like the old silence, honestly, where it was point-click, and you would silence one person for, like, a pretty good chunk of time. Or you could give your mana over to somebody else. I like the mana battery. It sort of reinforced a unique playstyle where you could be put into a poke lane. You know, if you put that with a Misfortune or something, or an Ezreal, and just, like, you're able to just just keep funneling mana into them and just keep spamming spells. I think that would make her unique, and I really like that. This AoE silence business is just like, I don't know, it's okay, but I would just like to see lower cooldown, point click, silence, or refunds mana, because it used to be like 8 seconds or something was the cooldown on the single target point click silence. I thought that was cooler. But anyway, so this will help her out. This will give her like maybe 1% or so. I don't like the design stuff they're doing with her right now. Okay. Or maybe if you have empowered Q and you press ult, your entire team gets the movement speed for a certain amount of time. That would be interesting too. Okay, Talon, lowered cooldown on the W. Okay, so that's your wave clear. So they're giving him more wave clear, and they're giving it a lot more bonus ADs. He's going to be able to wave clear faster and start roaming faster. Okay, he's pretty much been out of the meta. I personally don't like him. I don't think he's that interesting in the meta. I think he's kind of a toxic champ when he gets ahead, but, if people play assassins, sure. Tryndamere, 3 extra damage. Don't think it's going to matter. Maybe it will. He can crit early if he gets it stacked up. Like, you can cheese and kill people level 1 if you take, like, Ignite on Tryndamere. So maybe, like, for one tricks that can really push that extra 3 AD advantage, maybe that's a big deal. Once again, I don't like Tryndamere either. Kind of like Talon. I'm a little biased against him. I mean, he is unique, I guess, in his playstyle. It's just so linear. And he's just such a frustrating champion. He just, like, mindlessly split pushes. And I don't know. I mean, I play some mindless champs too, but whatever. Sure, give him a little bit for the Tryndamere lovers out there. That's fine. Okay, Varus. Once again, these changes just keep getting weirder and weirder. Like, so they changed him a few patches ago to where he has to land auto attacks first to get stacks of blight on somebody and then hit him with an arrow. And so that gave him extra damage on the blight stacks. But he's just not designed for that. Like, because there's conflicting elements in his kit. Right? Like, he's supposed to charge up his arrow for 2 seconds to get maximum damage out of it. But then that playstyle where you have to auto-attack him 3 times and then hit him with an ability to trigger the blight would encourage you to instant cast the arrow. And you're a very immobile AD carry, so it's really dangerous to like try to walk up and auto people like that anyways to combo them. Right? And so it's just this weird confluence of they nerfed his on-hit, so if you want to go up and auto-attack a lot, that's a lot worse. That was kind of an interesting build, when he would get, like, Blade the Rune King, Hurricane, and just go for this, like, fast attack speed. Then he also has this, like, fully charged arrow kind of sniper build that was pretty cool at one point with, like, Comet and Lethality and stuff like that, but then they nerfed that also. And then they added on this weird, like, W that has a passive on Blighted Quiver. It's like a 40-second cooldown basic ability that empowers your Q. So you've got like one shot massive damage, but it's just like super skill expressive. You have to hit that empowered W max charge. So what they want you to do then is walk up, auto attack them 3 times, and then somehow charge up, like, use your empowered W, and then charge up your Q for 2 seconds, and then hit them with your empowered Q. It's like, I mean, maybe that's going to happen sometimes, but they're probably just going to kill you or dodge it while you're charging it up for 2 seconds. I don't know. I think it's just really weird where they're going with him, and I think they need to decide. Do they want him to be a sniper and use his ult for peel? And if they're doing that, they need to lower the cooldown on his Q or increase the damage or something and like rework the blight mechanic. Or do they want him to, be this auto attacker? I think the sniper build was a lot more interesting, but anyways, I don't think this is going to move the needle that much on him. It is a lot of damage if you land it, so like maybe for really skilled Varus play, but I just think he's too inconsistent. Okay, Veigar lowered mana cost on the Q, so that'll allow him to spam a little bit more in the lane. Okay. Sure, and then Primordial Burst late game is 20 seconds less cooldown. Alright, I mean, he's good against like melee mid laners or just like heavy melee teams, but I still think he's just going to get blown up by a lot of other like ranged champions out there, but he's not terrible. He's okay. Okay, Gensu's getting extra 5% attack speed. I just don't think there's going to be that many champions. I mean, Senna has been building this. I know Duck hates that, but Senna has been building this. But the main reason that she gets that is because it converts your attack damage into on-hit damage, and they're not buffing that aspect of it, which was really popular early on in the preseason. And I thought that was kind of an interesting thing to be able to turn crit into on-hit. I thought that was kind of fun. But anyways, I don't think this is going to matter. Vayne, I don't even think Vayne gets this. Vayne is the mainstream person who's, traditionally a Gensu user that's pretty good. But I don't even think she gets it. No, she's been getting the new Phantom Dancer, which is kind of weird. I thought this item was going to be a bust. Like, just wasn't going to be that good. But I guess I underestimated the movement speed. But yeah, a lot of people had just been going for that, and then I've been going for the Blade the Ruined King. So yeah, most people, I mean, I guess people still get it. Like, it's okay, but it feels like Phantom is the more popular item. So I don't know. And then like your Varus I just talked about has gotten it in the past. It's been bad lately. And then Kog'Maw has just not existed as a champion for a long time. Master Yi doesn't get this item either, I don't think. I think, doesn't he go for like Dustblade, like Wit's End or just some weird crap like that instead of Gensu's? Yeah, Dustblade, Collector, like, so just nobody's getting this item right now, Gensu's, except for Senna, and she really doesn't care that much about the attack speed's nice. So it's cool, but I don't think it's going to make people want to get this item. You would have to add on the extra on-hit a little bit more, and that could be interesting, or just change it in some other way. But yeah, I don't think it's going to matter. Moonstone Renew. Now, this is pretty significant. So by the time you get this as a support, you're probably going to be, instead of like 82 or so healing, you're probably going to be closer to like maybe 75 or so healing. So I feel like it's going to be down about 10% when you very first get it, and then that would also affect when you have it charged up. So in other words, for that mid game at least, if we take that as the average point you're going to complete this item, like between levels 7 and 9, you're doing 10% less healing. And then as you go up to higher levels, you're probably, when you finish the game level 13 or 14, you're probably going to be doing like 6 or 7% less healing. So I don't have all the math on it, but it's probably something along the lines of, if you would have healed for 5,000, maybe you heal for like 4,700 or something. So it's a light tap to Moonstone users, so it might matter a little bit. The 60% Grievous is going to matter more, that more and more people are going to opt for stuff like Morellonomicon and Mortal Reminder. But it'll matter. Like, it might knock some of the enchant, like the Lulus and stuff like that, down like 0.5%. They aren't really like super taking over the meta. You hardly ever see them in pro. You do see some meme top laners. I know Ivern was played top. Some people get it on Lilia in the jungle and stuff like that. But it's not like hard dominating the support role right now. Like, there are certain champs that are good on it, right? Like, you've got Seraphine is good with it. You've got Lulu's good with it. But outside of those two, like, Janna's okay, but she still has a 51% win rate. Nami can get, we'll do win rate here. Or we'll do PBI, Pick Ban Influence. Like, Nami can get it, but she can also get Mandate and be okay. Sona's, like, a good user of it. But she's at, like, 52%. You know, Janna, like I said, is at 51%. Seraphine is high at 53. Lulu's high at 52. But then you've also got, like, Thresh at 53. Leona at 52.5. Rel at 53. You know, Bard at 53. Maokai at 53. So there are a lot of champions that don't use Moonstone that are also very strong right now. So I don't think they need to nerf it that much. Like, it is the marquee item. It is the thing everybody complains about. It does have a really eye-popping number when you look at it at the end of most games. It'll have thousands and thousands of healing. Now, I don't know if that includes stuff that is reduced by Grievous. If it's the actual amount that is healed or the amount that would have been healed with no Grievous. I'm not 100%. If you know, let me know in the comments. But either way, I think it's okay. But then you also have stuff like Soraka, right, which has had a really bad time. Yumi is still sitting on like 50%. A lot of people get it on Karma. She's still under 50%. So there are still several champs that usually will get Moonstone that are, you know, lower than 52%. So it's fine. A little tap on it might knock that win rate down a little bit, but I think it'll still be a strong item with Staff Flowing Water. And then the Grievous Wounds items. Now, these are going to be some of the most impactful ones, especially Morellonomicon. This item's already good, but now it's going to be over 100% efficiency, I believe. Let me look here. Yeah, so right now, you're basically paying 100 gold. So the item costs 2,500. Did they already update it? Okay, it's already updated. So it's not like entirely 100% efficient, but before this change, you were paying about like you were paying about 300 gold to complete it, and now you're only paying, you know, 95 gold-ish to complete it. So it's almost free in order to get to the 60% Grievous Wounds, and it's got a lot of AP on it, it's got a lot of health, so these are all stats that a lot of mages would like. It doesn't have Spell Pen on it, doesn't have Ability Haste, doesn't have mana. So there are some things that are, you know, going to be impacted, but a lot of champions are going to like this, and a lot of champions are going to get it. And I'll tell you, a lot of times, as, you know, I play Maokai support, you know, more and more, after you get, you know, as a support champion at least, after you get your boots, your warding item, and your mythic, and then you have a control ward slot, you only have 2 slots left over for stuff. And when you already get Oblivion Orb, then you only have 1 slot left over. And so it's really hard to buy another item. If you're already getting Oblivion Orb, which is a super cost-efficient item, very good in the vast majority of games, and if you get it as support, then your mage doesn't have to get Grievous, your ADC doesn't have to get Grievous. So you should be getting it a lot, I think, if you can use AP as support. Then, like, I've tried, like, shifting over and getting Demonic Embrace or something after that. It just takes way too long. It's just not slot efficient. Because you can buy Blasting Wand or Giant's Belt or something, but then you're waiting another 2,000 gold before you can complete that item, because you can't buy any more components because you just don't have enough inventory space. So I think that just because of the inventory space constraints, especially on supports, that you just might as well go ahead and complete Morellonomicon at this point. So there's going to be a lot more 60% type of stuff going around. The same is probably true of Putrefier, right? If you're playing an Enchanter, now Putrefier is not getting buffed here, but if you're playing an Enchanter, I think Putrefier was already 100% efficient after the most recent buffs to it. Let me see. I used to call it Purifier a lot, but it is Putrefier. It's making it nasty. Right, so it's not 100%. You're paying 180 gold, so you're paying a little bit more for this one. But it's the same drill. It's like if you have Oblivion Orb, you're only going to have enough for like 1 more item. So yeah, you could buy Forbidden Idol and just sit on, you know, another 1,500 gold before you get Staff of Flowing Water, or you can just go ahead and finish Putrefier. So it just makes it really awkward because you just don't have enough inventory slots for all of these little weird items. If you're a support. Now, I don't know as a mid laner how that's going to like matter, but either way, I think that there's going to be a lot more people getting 60%. And then Mortal Reminder is going for 25, or getting 5 extra AD rather. Let me see how cost efficient this is now. Yes, this is 103% efficient, so you're actually getting paid 76 gold to update this. So that's really good. I mean, it's got a lot of good stats on it. It's got movement speed, attack damage, attack speed, critical strike. So people might just get this anyways. It's just a second or third item. Even if you don't have very much in the way of healing, like, why not? It's got good stats, and everybody's going to have a little bit of healing, right? There's going to be some Conquer. There's going to be some Ravenous Hunter in there. You know, there's going to be some healing on the enemy team. Like, this will give you some benefit. So yeah, I don't know why they buffed that. It was already in a good state, but now it's in a great state. And then the Kimpunk Chainsword, I think this is for like your ribbons and stuff like that. Getting a little bit of extra health. It's probably the least impactful one, but it's all right. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of Grievous running around. And then we're almost out of time. This is taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. Cosmic Drive is one of the more interesting ones. So they're basically, if you get this second item, you're going to have 160 ability power most of the time. Even if you go like Mandate and then get this and you have like Spell Thieves, you're definitely going to get there. But you're gaining 10 ability haste and a permanent 10 to 30 movement speed. So a permanent on average by the time you get this like 20 or 25 movement speed. So that's really good on certain champs. And the champs that jump out to me immediately that would love this would be stuff with really long, high impact cooldowns that really like movement speed. Twisted Fate. So I could see, and you know, he likes a little bit of health too. He likes a little bit of survivability, right? He used to get Rod of the Ages. So this has the health on it. This has the health on it. It's got like massive cooldown reduction for 75, 220. So it's not including. So you would get an extra 533 HP. I think I did the math on this. I don't remember what move speed is, but I feel like you're getting 3,600 gold when this is completed. So it's like 120% efficient. That's a really, really nice item. And I could see this on Twisted Fate, maybe Galio, Vlad, maybe on Rakan support. I don't know. It doesn't help your team out a lot, but the cooldown reduction is very nice. And you got to remember, the components are phenomenal on this item. It's great. Like, getting Fiendish Codex and Kindle Gem just feels great. You're getting so much ability haste. Those are so, like, cost-efficient, cheap items. You can just grab some Amp Tomes on your back or grab a Ruby Crystal or something. So it just feels like it would be a very handy second or third item because the components are so nice. So I don't know. There definitely will be some people that like this. Shyvana could be another one in the jungle that likes this. I've seen Echo get this before. I don't know if that's 100% the best item on him, but it could be really good. So I think there are maybe Fizz, Rumble would really like this. Swain might like this. And the problem is it competes with Demonic Embrace, which is also basically 100% efficient at the same cost. With Demonic Embrace, you're getting basically the same ability power. I think it might be a little bit less. You're getting 350 health, so you're getting a little bit more HP. And then whenever you are burning somebody, you get, you know, at least 10/10 armor and magic resist, and you can get up to 20/20. And you have that dot damage, which is hard to quantify. So you're getting the dot damage about for free. So it just comes down to, would you rather have 40 ability haste, which is about the equivalent of like 30%-ish, 28%, 30%, something like that, cooldown reduction, and a little bit less health, and a little bit more movement speed. So do you want the CDR and do you want the movement speed at the cost of health, and just some extra survivability? So I don't know. I don't know how many champs are going to opt into this, but once again, I suspect the stuff that really wants the movement speed might like it. So Galio and TF are almost certainly going to at least take a look at this item, and then Vlad, Rumble, Swain, and maybe even Rakan might take a look at it. So I think that this will be strong somewhere. I'm just not sure exactly where, but those would be my guesses. Especially, once again, TF and Galio. Okay, Everfrost. Probably still not going to be used. These are some nice buffs. 50 extra health is nice. I mean, this item, it's cost efficient right now, I think. I mean, after these changes, like, it's 112% efficient just off of its base stats. It has the 15 ability power for each extra legendary. That's very nice. 112%. and then they just increase the damage to 125. I mean, this is the same thing as Protobelt now. It actually has higher scaling damage than Protobelt. You know, if you look at Protobelt here, it's 125 with 15% scaling. You don't have the dash, but you have a 1.5 second root, which is big. I mean, that's like a stun, and it's only on a 20-second cooldown. So I don't know. There's got to be somebody that would like this item. It's got a little bit less health and a little bit less ability power, but it does have mana on it. So I don't know. They're like just pushing the envelope with this item. The big issue with me is it's 3,400 gold. I think with these mana items, Liandry's is popular, so they'd have to be careful with Liandry's. But I think with like Everfrost, it's just like you're paying too much. Like, do you really need 600 mana? Like, could they not just like take it down to like 450 or something and just make it a 3,200 gold item? That would be beautiful. 3,200 gold, it's like 450 or 500 mana. You still get good mana, but then the price is competitive with stuff like Protobelt, with stuff like Night Harvester. And once again, they might have to be a little careful with Liandry's because that's the strongest one by far. So you might have to, if you do that, you might have to, you know, just tweak the ability power or something on it. Knock off 5 haste or knock off 5 ability power or something like that. But, nevertheless, somebody will like, maybe Ari, I'm not sure who's going to get this, but somebody might like this. Or they could increase the range on it. I think that's a little dangerous. I don't know the range, but it feels like it's pretty close, like 500 or something. Does it say here what the range is on it? 850, I mean, that's pretty damn good, though. I don't know. Somebody might get this. Like, it's just 112% is so efficient compared to some of those other items. It's just you're paying so much for the mana. And then the Juggle Camp changes. So I don't know. Like, I'm not an expert on this. This almost certainly seems like it will affect a level 4 full clear. Like, that's not happening anymore. Because you used to be able to do everything except for golems and get Scuttle, I believe, and hit level 4 off of that. That's not happening. I think you'll still get level 3, I believe, off of Buff Gromp, because they're not nerfing red buff and blue buff experience or gold. They are nerfing Gromp, so how much experience? 10 experience off of Gromp? I don't know. If it affects the level 3 Gromp, that's like a massive deal. That is a very, very large nerf, but I don't know the breakpoints. But if a lot of junglers can still go like red, blue, Gromp, gank, Scuttle, I think that'll still be okay for a lot of junglers. Now, it is giving you less gold every time you go through. I think it's something like... Now, what is large Krug? Is that the like monster Krug, or are those the small ones? I'm not sure. So is that a 10 gold nerf or a 30 gold nerf on that camp? I'm not 100%. Are the small Krugs the mini Krugs? It's just experience there. I'm going to assume large Krug is the really big one only. I don't know, but just at face value, it's going to be 20 gold off there on Gromp, 10 off of that, that's 30, and then Crimson Raptor's the big Raptor, so that's 40. So you're losing 40 gold and then some number of experience. You might even be losing up to 70 gold or 60 gold instead of 40, depending on which Krug that's referring to. I'm not 100%. So, I mean, that matters. Every time you go through, you know, if you get 10 clears in a game, which is not uncommon, I think a lot of people will probably get 10 clears. How much CS is that? There's, what, 1, 2, 3, 6 camps. That's 24. So that'd be 240 camps, 240 CS by the end of the game if you had 10 clears, which I think in, like, a lot of games on these hyper clear junglers, it could matter. That's, like, 500 gold off. And if in most games, I guess you're getting, like, 15,000 gold, maybe. So 240 CS, I don't know what the average gold is on that stuff. If it's like 20 gold each on a CS on average, that would be like 4,000, 5,000 gold off of CS, maybe 6,000 or 7,000 gold. Let's just say it's 6,000 gold off of CS, then you know, losing 500 off of that would be like, what, 1/12? So that would be like 8 or 9%. So you're losing something like maybe, you know, 8 to 10% of your gold throughout a game if you're power clearing. So that will matter. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the experience breakpoints, but it feels like it could be significant. I think we're going to see the same top level junglers though, and I'm going to release my jungle tier list tomorrow. But I think it's still going to be Udyr, Rammus, Skarner, and Nunu are going to be at the top. Now, Nunu, Rammus, and Udyr can all turbo gank early if they need to, but they can also power farm pretty well and get the Kim tank plus Dead Man's Plate. They didn't nerf either one of those. Those items are extremely efficient, very powerful, very cheap. So I think it's still going to be the same meta. Now, you might see something like Xin Zhao, Lee Sin, that type of stuff, like very early ganking skirmishers show up. I don't know. I still think you want the tanks. I still think it's going to be shifting toward tanks. I think it has been shifting towards tanks for a while. So I don't necessarily think you're going to see those as much. Maybe Jarvan. I've talked about Jarvan before because you can dunk Udyr, Skarner, Rammus, all those things. You can dunk them and stop them from moving so they can't get to your backline versus other stuff because they have phase rush and they're moving so fast. It's really hard to slow them or CC them and keep them from getting on your AD carry, especially when they have Kim tank. But if you dunk them with Jarvan, then you might be able to hold them still long enough to make a difference. So Jarvan, I think, is probably a little underrated right now, and he might come out in the upcoming changes. But overall, it will hurt the jungle a little bit, but I think that it will still be a very impactful role. Okay. That stuff doesn't matter. The healing update, blah, 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 Clash team. Now, these bug fixes are important. The Jinx one I mentioned is actually a huge deal for her attack speed, so that should help her out a lot. And then there's this one right here. Adjusted steric gauges AD to the appropriate amount. What does that mean? Like, why don't they explain what was wrong with it? I don't know. Was it giving too much or too little AD? So basically, is this a buff for sterics or is this a nerf for sterics? So I don't know if it was giving too much AD or too little. I will tell you, I think that item is really OP in general. Like, the fact that it has nice stats, like AD and HP, and it's got 2 passives, so it's like 86% efficient, and then you basically get a shield for like half of your health that's on like a 60-second cooldown. It's just too strong. So I think it's too good of an item. So hopefully this is a nerf to it, but we'll see. And then I think the rest of these don't matter. Oh, you could actually jump while you were rooted with Stride Breaker, so you could be Morgana Q'd or like Maokai W'd or whatever and still use Stride Breaker to like grab people. I think that's kind of bad, so that's going to be a nerf to Stride Breaker in a lot of situations. But anyways, I think that's basically it. So thank you very much. As always, I appreciate it, and stay tuned for the tier list. Come by, check out the stream, and we'll see you next time. Have a good day.